Welcome back to the 1998 USDF National Dressage Symposium. This is Bill Woods speaking. This volume covers the work from 2nd through 4th levels. Kira begins her discussion of collection with the shoulder in.
Okay, and what we are going to work with here with Ulla's horse is a little bit first of shoulder in. We were talking about the leg yielding. We are going to see it more practice tomorrow. But when the horse has learned to yield the leg, the whole question of this collection is really to be able to keep the horse straight. If you can't keep the horse straight, then he is always going to try to get away with the hind legs to one side or another so that he doesn't have to do the gymnastic. Gymnastics is hard. Everybody tried to get away from gymnastic in school. So we have to get the horses used that they have to work and do it for short periods of times. So when we start with the young horse, we do it on straight lines first, and then we do it on big circles with a little bit of bending, and then we start to do the circles a bit smaller. Then we start with the leg yielding so that the horse easily goes from one side to another, and the leg yielding is also a loosening movement. The horse gets loose in the or soft in the hind legs through the leg yielding. But then when you can start trotting, Ulla. Then when we start going up in the classes and we want to get more collection, then we start with the collecting sideway or two-track movements. And the first one is shoulder in. Just trot on first so that he gets used. And shoulder in is a wonderful movement if you actually ride it as a shoulder in. Unfortunately, most of the riders ride it like haunches out. And if you push the hind leg to the outside, then you are not going to collect the horse. You really have to do the shoulders in and not the haunches out. And I would say the best imagination for a shoulder in is that the horse has to be bent in the same way as on a small circle. You don't need to start them yet, just trot around and do some work. On the circle, the horse is now bent and flexed to the right. And then instead, when Ulla is coming out back to the track, she is not letting him go straight. She is almost like starting a new circle, and then stop. And then stop him. Stop. So when you do the circle and you come out back to the track, the shoulder in really is the same as if you would open up a new circle, but you don't let him go into the circle. You stop him a little bit so that he starts to go on a straight track. And I mean, you were not here when we had the last lesson, but really think of turning him more. If he gets lazy, if he doesn't turn fast enough, use your outside leg, not pulling more on the inside. You almost make him slow down a little bit on your outside rein. So you stop the shoulder from falling out. Okay? Okay, and then big circle again. And then you come forward in trot. And then you go on with the same thing. 8-meter circle by B into the big circle. Good. And look where you turn. Look where your center line is. That is almost a bit too big. Good. Okay, and big circle. And then try to get a bit more connection on the left rein. He is looking to the right all the time. And if you would see it from here, he is also pushing out the hind leg a little bit. Every time, little circle. So now you do a little circle again, B. What we want him here is to track in the same way on the big circle as on the small circle. Here he is tracking with the hind legs to the outside. He is pushing his hind legs to the outside. So you have to be able to use your outside rein and outside leg a little bit more, not pushing him to the outside, more guiding the front leg to the inside and sitting on his hind legs. That's better. Okay, he was a bit confused. It doesn't matter. And every time, Ulla, you turn him, and he does turn, don't pull more on the inside rein. Just release the inside rein and let him go around. And circle again. Outside leg. Show him where you want him to go. Don't turn his head. Really thinking of turning his front leg instead. Good.
For many minutes, Kira was dissatisfied with the horse's attention on the circles. It doesn't matter how well you give the aid, she reminded, if the horse doesn't respond.
There are so many basic qualities that we all the time have to see. The horse has to move in the same way, even if he goes on a smaller track. He has to be able to bend and to flex in the proper way. He has to keep up the same speed. He has to be relaxed. He has to keep the same rhythm all the way, and it has to look easy. So there are a lot of things that have to go right. And you can maybe ride up to St. George I-1, you can lie a lot. But then when you want to go into Grand Prix, you can't lie anymore, because then it gets too difficult for the horse. If the horse is not properly collected, it stops there. So I like to see not only the levels like this, but I also like to look at them at pillars like this. What do I need for a really nice, let's say, canter pirouette? Yeah, I need a good collection. I need a good canter. I need the canter to be the same to both sides. I need that the horse can turn for small aids. And I need that I can prepare that he keeps himself straight before the pirouette. And I have to be able to vary the flexion and the bending. So actually, this work already starts in the trot on the circle, because then I have to be able to do the same in the canter. So like with him, I did see all the horses for 10 minutes yesterday, just to decide what I wanted to do with them today. And with him, we are going to do like canter work and the work that is going to prepare the changes. But as long as he is saying, I go here and maybe I turn there and then I put the hind leg out there, you are never going to be able to put him in that balance that you can unbalance him so that he has to do the flying change. Because if he is putting you more where he wants than you putting him where you want him to be. So you have to be a bit more firm and say, hey, I want the circle to be there, and I want it to be I want to be able to do 10 circles starting by E and keeping 2 meters from the center line. So don't be too nice. And then you go on walking here on the long side. And then we can continue working a little bit. And then you do shoulder in, but a bit with the same technique as you did the circles now in the walk. That you really feel that you can, the right shoulder you have to be able to take in, as if you would go into a circle. And if you feel that he goes away from your track, then you can stop him with the outside rein. It doesn't matter if he is not walking all the time. What we want to see here at the end is that the horse is flexed and bent away from the movement. What we really want to do is to get that left inside hind leg to step further underneath the body. But as long as the horse is falling over his right shoulder, if you don't get the right shoulder correct, then we are not going to be able to push that inside hind leg underneath. We don't want the inside hind leg to step across and to the outside. We really want the horse to step under his body to encourage the collection. Then everybody always asks, how much should it be? Should it be on 3 tracks or should it be on 4 tracks? I like 3 tracks, I like 4 tracks. I even like 4 tracks with 10 centimeters in between. The most important is that you decide what you need or what you want. Also, shoulder 4 for a young horse is wonderful. So you can, when you come here, you just walk on and then you stop by B and keep the same angle. And now if I look from the top, he should look like he would go on a 6-meter circle. He should be as much bent as he is on the 6-meter circle. I want him to stay a bit more on the outside rein, a bit softer on the inside rein. The outside leg stays a little bit behind because that leg guards the hind legs from falling out. What we think all the time is that the hind leg goes on the track and the front leg comes to the inside of the track. So the inside rein is opening to the side and steering the front leg to the side. The outside rein is all the time regulating how much the horse is flexing and bending in the neck. And you can say that if you, for instance here, you could see it with the horse there before, if the rider pulls on the left rein and gives too much on the right rein at the same time, then the horse only bends the neck like this. If you can keep him, you restrict him a little more with the outside rein, in this case your right rein, then you can flex him and make him loose here without him turning the head. So really the flexion happens only here in the poll. Only here in the poll he is going to turn his head so much that the rider can see a little bit of the inside side of the eye and nostril, just so much to the side. And then when the horse can flex to both sides in the same way, then we can start talking about bending. The horse never will bend or be supple in the bending if he is not loose in the flexion. So in that way you can say that this like big bending to the side, if the horse is strong there, it doesn't really help. He has to give in the jaw or relax in the jaw before he can bend. Most likely you have heard a lot of times when you get problems that the teacher just says that faster and more leg, faster and more leg. But it's not really the way you can learn something. I try much more to make them into small pieces. And then you have to be able to break the movement down so that you can do every piece safely, slowly. And then when every piece is automatic, then you can put them together and do them quick. So sometimes it's right to ride forward, but sometimes it's also right to slow the whole movement down so that the horse and the rider has time to feel what happens. Then by every letter, or every second letter you go to walk. By P you go to walk, but you keep him in the same angle. Walk with the right rein, walk, 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 walk. Good. And by B you start trotting again, in, shoulder in. Short steps, don't try to make too big steps. Okay, it doesn't matter, just go on again, trot. Good, doesn't matter. And walk again. Good. And then you trot normally through the corner. Walk. Good. Good. Okay, and then trot again. Same position. Good. And that's really what we are doing, and walk. Is a big half halt. If the half halt doesn't go through, then I do a full transition or a full halt. So, okay, trot again. But I have to see that I get the reaction again. And you can say that if you have a horse that goes against your hand when you do the transitions, you have to be able to work with the hand and with the leg together. And it's wonderful to do the transitions in shoulder in. There it was a bit too fast. You can still do it a bit smoother. Now you don't do a transition every time, but you really shorten up the trot. If he doesn't short up does small trot steps, then you go into the walk, good, and then you go forward again. So by every second letter, you start to do small steps in trot, good. Yeah, don't punish him, it's okay. Good, and then again. So now you start with your normal trot there by H, shoulder in, and then by S you do some small steps. Good, 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 good. Okay, and then you trot on again. Good. And then by V you do some small steps again. Good, and until, yeah, good. Don't try more and more and more. Don't try for the piaffe. You just want a relaxed, short step. So when he gives in, when you have the feeling, now I could go to walk, then you let him go on. Okay, now you come in and do you do a normal shoulder in HS? Keep him in the same angle, and now you want longer steps, longer steps, longer steps, more forward. Good, and when you come to V, then you start shorter steps, shorter steps. Same angle, good, and trot on normally, good. First of all, before you really can do a proper collection, you have to be able to vary the length of the step. And like in shoulder in, it's a very good exercise to good. And then forward, long steps, good. And then shorten the steps, same rhythm, good, good. And then normal collected trot in shoulder in, good. So.
Kira then repeated the same movements on the center line until the rider could keep the haunches on line, prevent the outside shoulder from drifting, and maintain the rhythm.
Actually, what I wanted to do with him today, continue on this, but on the other hand, I don't want to go forward too fast before she really has got it in the trot, because I'm sure that if you don't get it well, the feeling in the trot, then you can't move on for the canter. And what I basically wanted to do with him was to do the counter canter. But we will go on from here tomorrow and work up on this exercise first, then do the same thing in the canter, so that you will get your counter canter a bit better. What we are going to do with those two horses is first to work a little bit on trot and the trot half passes, really to get them more going from the rider's leg. And also that the riders really feel that they can move the horses front leg and hind leg to either side. So that they really feel that they can pick out the line, for instance, for the front leg, and they are able to move the hind leg to the side. Because then from that we are going on to do flying changes. And we have here two very good examples. We have Lois' horse that is doing nice changes, but where Lois doesn't really have the timing right. And I think that's actually the best way of learning the changes, to have a schoolmaster horse who can do them. And then the rider only have to concentrate on getting the changes right. And then we have Wit, who has a wonderful timing of the aids for the changes. The horse is only 6 years old, but is doing really nice changes. So we also will see a young horse starting up with the changes. And really one can say that the worst combination is an unexperienced rider with a horse that can't do the changes. That's almost heading for a big problem. So I find the best, like doing a flying change, it's not that difficult and it's not that a big problem if you have a horse who can do them. And I have seen a lot of riders who can start up with horses that are doing the flying changes well. And they go on in their riding career always doing good changes because they never got a big mind stop about the changes. And then again, you have riders who have had a lot of bad experiences with the changes, and they do get confused, and they do always have some troubles in the changes. Well, what we did with the other, or the horse before, was doing shoulder ins. And now we move on to the half passes and the traverse. And here again, I'm very hard on finding a line. It's no use of trying to bend the horse if you don't control where you ride. If you can't say, okay, this is the line, here I stay, and then I have to be able to move the horse around. Because, for instance, with the half passes, you can use them for a lot of movements, also with the shoulder ins. You can use them for setting up the really collected canter, for the pirouettes, for piaffe and passage. You can use shoulder in piaffe to get the hind legs more engaged. But if you lose the, or if the horse is picking his own track all the time, then you don't really get the purpose anymore, because then you can't push the hind legs under when you can't put the horse on the track you want him to be. So when we ride now, I always start with travers, and that's again, we can start there. You do a circle width by B, 8-meter circle in the walk. You remember that the shoulder in, we've started like a new circle, but in the travers, we never finished the circle completely. When you come with the front leg to the track, you stop. Like there. So we use the bending at the end of the circle, so that the horse is going now to go on the circle with the front leg on the track, the hind legs on inside the track. When she goes into the circle, the right rein is turning and bending. The left rein is regulating the turning and the bending, and you stay on the circle. The right leg is like a pole around which the horse is going to bend, the inside leg, and that stays by the girth. Just go on the circle. So if the horse is pushing the shoulder in, then you use your inside leg so that he has to bend around. And the outside leg is guarding the hind leg so that the hind leg is not going to the outside. If the horse avoids the collection, he will push the hind leg to the outside, because then he doesn't need to take the weight on the hind leg. I do the circle, I start with the travers, and if I feel that the horse is not taking the hind leg to the side, I don't start pulling my leg further and further back, because behind it's very weak. And also behind they have a lot more fat, so they feel less like towards the hind legs. And also when you do, okay, then you can walk on again. When you do this travers and the horse is not listening to your outside leg, when you pull your leg further and further back, you also will take your weight to the outside. And it's very important that the rider stays in the middle of the horse and goes with the horse in the movement. If like in this travers, when I want to bend the horse to the right, if I sit to the left, then I'm giving double messages again. I say with my weight, don't go to the right, and still the rein and the leg is saying go to the right. And then I'm going to come into a confliction where I have to use more and more leg and rein, only because I sit in the wrong position. So the horse has to listen to your leg. If he doesn't listen, then use the whip or kick him once on the outside, and then let loose again. School him for that leg.